Basil is a truly delightful herb to invite into your garden. It is surprisingly simple to grow, which is always a bonus. Its fragrance is quite famous, a rich, sweet and peppery perfume. Many cooks and gardeners alike adore this strong, evocative scent. It brings a welcome touch of the Mediterranean right to your doorstep, or indeed it can flourish happily on your kitchen windowsill. This inherent versatility makes it a firm favorite for so many. It truly is a plant that gives back generously for very little fuss. You do not need a vast expanse of garden to enjoy fresh basil. It grows quite happily in all manner of pots and containers. This means you can easily find a space for it. A sunny spot on the patio is absolutely perfect for a pot of basil. Even a small balcony can become a productive home for this lovely herb. This accessibility means that almost everyone can have a go. Growing your own herbs, however few, is remarkably satisfying, I find. It connects you to your food in a simple way. Imagine stepping out on a warm summer's day to pick fresh basil. You can then toss it straight into your freshly prepared salads. It is also quite wonderful when added to pasta sauces or homemade pesto. The flavor of homegrown basil is often noticeably superior. It is generally much more intense and vibrant than shop-bought bunches. This is, of course, because it is so incredibly fresh, picked moments before use. The simple joy it brings is quite considerable for such a humble plant, so let us explore the journey of growing this wonderful herb together. We will begin right at the very start with the tiny seed, then with a bit of patience we will nurture it into a healthy seedling, and from there a flourishing bushy plant will eventually emerge, ready for your kitchen. It is a straightforward process, I can assure you of that. With a little care and attention to its needs, you will soon be enjoying your own delicious basil. It's one of those simple garden pleasures well worth cultivating. Timing is rather important when it comes to sowing your basil seeds. Basil, you see, absolutely adores warmth and plenty of sunshine. Therefore, it is best to wait until all conceivable risk of frost has entirely passed. Late spring, perhaps towards the end of May or into early June, is generally ideal. This timing is for sowing the seeds directly into your garden soil. The soil temperature itself should be consistently above 10 degrees Celsius. For the very best germination, try to aim for a soil temperature around 21 degrees Celsius. Good, thorough soil preparation will make a real, tangible difference to your basil. This herb needs soil that drains freely, yet retains some essential moisture. It also appreciates plenty of nutrients to help it grow strong and leafy. Before you consider planting, take the time to dig in some well-rotted garden compost. This will greatly improve the soil's structure and its overall fertility. If you're planning to use pots, choose a good quality, peat-free, multi-purpose compost. Crucially, ensure your chosen pots have adequate drainage holes at the bottom. For sowing directly into the garden, make shallow drills in the prepared soil. These drills are essentially little furrows, perhaps about ½ centimeter deep. Sow the tiny, dark basil seeds thinly along the length of these drills. Try your best not to overcrowd them, giving each future plant some space. Cover the seeds gently with a fine layer of sieved soil or compost. Water the area very carefully, preferably using a watering can with a fine rose. You do not want to dislodge or wash away those precious seeds. Alternatively, you can start your basil seedlings indoors a bit earlier in the season. This method can give you a useful head start, especially if spring is slow to warm. Sow the seeds in small individual pots or clean seed trays filled with fresh compost. Place these on a warm, bright windowsill, perhaps in a propagator if you have one. Keep the compost consistently moist, but be careful that it doesn't become waterlogged. Once the young seedlings have developed a few sets of true leaves, they are nearly ready. Harden them off gradually before planting them out into their final positions. Watering your young and growing basil correctly is a very important aspect of its care. Young basil plants in particular require consistent and reliable moisture to thrive. It is a good idea to check the soil daily, especially during warm or dry spells. Water your plants thoroughly whenever the top inch or so of soil feels dry to the touch. Always try to aim the water directly at the base of the plant, near the soil level. Endeavor to avoid wetting the leaves too much, as this can sometimes encourage fungal issues. Remember, good drainage is absolutely key to prevent the roots from becoming soggy. Basil is a dedicated, sun-loving herb. There is simply no mistake about that. It really does need at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each and every day. This ample sunlight helps it to grow strong, compact, and to produce wonderfully flavorful leaves. A south-facing spot in your garden or on your allotment is usually ideal. If you are growing your basil indoors, a very sunny windowsill is quite essential for its well-being. Without sufficient light, your basil plants may unfortunately become rather weak and spindly. They can also grow quite leggy and their leaves may appear pale. Feeding your basil plants will certainly help them to flourish and produce abundantly. However, it is worth noting that basil is not an exceptionally greedy plant when it comes to nutrients. If you have prepared your garden soil well with plenty of good compost, it might need very little in the way of extra food. For basil grown in pots, a light feed every now and then can be beneficial. You can use a balanced liquid fertilizer, perhaps every 2 to 3 weeks during the main growing season. Always follow the dilution instructions on the bottle carefully. Be cautious not to over-fertilize, as this can sometimes negatively affect the final flavor of the leaves. Pruning, or what is often called pinching out, is truly crucial for encouraging bushy basil plants. When your young seedling has developed 3 or 4 sets of true leaves, it is time to begin. Carefully pinch out the very top growing point of the main stem. You should do this just above a pair of healthy leaves using your fingertips or small snips. This simple action encourages the plant to send out new side shoots from that point. Continue to repeat this process as these new side shoots grow and develop their own leaves. This creates a much fuller, more productive, and ultimately a happier plant. It is wise to keep a vigilant eye out for any common garden pests on your basil. Aphids, those little green fly or black fly, can sometimes gather on the tender new growth. Whiteflies might also make an unwelcome appearance, particularly if you are growing basil in a greenhouse. Inspect your plants regularly for any signs, paying close attention to the undersides of the leaves. Often a simple spray of slightly soapy water using a mild pure soap can deter them effectively. Some gardeners find that companion planting with marigolds nearby sometimes helps to confuse pests. Generally, strong, healthy plants are less prone to significant pest problems. You can begin to harvest your delicious basil once the plants are reasonably well established. This is usually around 6 to 8 weeks after you first sowed the seeds. By this time, the plants should be about 15 centimeters or 6 inches tall and looking quite robust. It is generally considered best to harvest your basil leaves in the morning if possible. This is the time when the essential oils in the leaves are at their most concentrated. And that, of course, means you will capture the best possible flavor for your culinary creations. When harvesting, try not to take more than about a third of the plant at any one time. To harvest your basil correctly, you can use a pair of sharp, clean scissors, or simply pinch the stems with your fingers. Snip or pinch the stem just above a pair of leaves, or a node. From this point, 2 new shoots will then grow, which effectively doubles your future harvest from that stem. This is precisely how you encourage more vigorous and bushy growth throughout the season. Try to avoid just plucking individual leaves randomly from the main stem. This method doesn't really help the plant to become bushier or more productive in the long run. Regular, thoughtful harvesting is definitely the key to a bountiful supply. For a truly continuous supply of fresh basil, you must harvest your plants often. Paradoxically, the more you pick within reason, the more your basil plants will produce for you. If you happen to see any flower spikes starting to form, be sure to pinch them out. You should do this straight away. Do not allow them to develop further. This action cleverly tells the plant to continue concentrating its energy on producing more leaves. Otherwise, it will naturally want to put its energy into making seeds for the next generation. With this regular attention and care, you can happily enjoy fresh, aromatic basil all summer long.